when I think about your campaign, I also think about universal basic income and how much of a vocal advocate you were for this policy. And perhaps, maybe both the federal government and the provincial government should be revisiting this policy, perhaps.
I think what's fascinating, Arvin, is that you're right. This UBI is suddenly in vogue because of the pandemic. But Andrew Yang was running on this in the lead up to the Democratic convention. I was running on this well before the Liberal convention, and the pandemic came up. And what I find fascinating about it is, everybody's got this opinion about it, and has a lot of misinformation in terms of what it actually is. When you sort of dive into a bit of the history of the basic income movement, you'll discover that it was actually one of the biggest proponents of a basic income was the conservative economist Milton Friedman, and even Richard Nixon in the U.S. And in Canada, there's Senator Hugh Segal, who was chief of staff to Brian Mulroney, who was chief of staff to Bill Davis, who endorsed me, even though he's a conservative senator, because I was supporting basic income. Because the very basis of a basic income is to essentially give people their dignity back, and to give them agency to make their own decisions, and to not have government get in the way of them sort of reaching their potential and doing what they can given the appropriate resources. Hugh Segal likes to say that bootstraps need boots. Not everybody can pull themselves up by their bootstraps. And that the government spends billions of dollars on social assistance, a lot of which is appropriate, and a lot of which goes to the right people and does a lot of good. But a lot of it is also very bureaucratic, and a lot of it is also part of a cycle that perpetuates itself and keeps people locked into a cycle of poverty, right? So the idea around a basic income was that we could spend all this money that we spend on social assistance, and we can spend more to give people the dignity of a basic income, so that it would actually allow them to grow as people and give them the opportunity to work, give them the opportunity to take care of their children, give them the opportunity to move to a better place, a safer neighborhood. And the fascinating thing about this is all the data and all the research that's already been done. And so people's first reaction is always, how much is this going to cost? And, we're just giving people free money to sit on their ass and do nothing. That couldn't be further from the truth. The Ontario pilot showed that 75% of people who are on the basic income continued to work or found work because they were on a basic income, and they used the basic income to supplement their existing salaries. So work levels do not go down despite that fear that it does. The pilot that happened in Manitoba a couple of decades ago, which actually ran for 4 years, showed an increase in education. People went back to school to reskill. It showed a decrease in hospital visits by 8.5%. And if you can imagine how much 8.5% hospital visits would translate to a province as large as Ontario, you're talking about billions of dollars in savings. And the last one, which blew my mind, was that domestic violence in Manitoba, in Dauphin, Manitoba, where the pilot was, went down 44%. Domestic violence went down 44%. Think about that. Think about the fact that the thing that drives people over the edge, and there's never an excuse for domestic violence, obviously, but the thing that drives people over the edge is often related to money. And when you are thinking of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and you don't have enough money for shelter, and you don't have enough money for food, then you get desperate and you do things you wouldn't normally do.
December 5.